ReferKent team is really pleased to have Hayley with us this afternoon to talk about their service. So without further ado, I'll hand over to Hayley. So thank you very much.
Lovely, thank you very much, Mark. So I hopefully Mark and I set this up beforehand. So hopefully you should all be able to see the slideshow as we go on. So very briefly, I thought I'd start with saying who Headway Kent is and what we do. So we are a charity. We used to be known as Headway East Kent. We had a name change back in 2020. And this allowed us to then offer services throughout the whole of the county rather than just in our historical base of East Kent. We are a charity. We're affiliated to our parent organisation, Headway UK. But we offer support and work with social care teams for people to access our services through their social care teams, or they can refer themselves privately to us. And I guess our main USP, so to speak, is that we're specialists in brain injury. I don't think there's another organisation that solely works with brain injury. There's one over in West Kent, and we have our Headway colleagues up in North Kent. But we don't work with dementia or degenerative diseases. It's solely brain injuries. So we like to think, and we hope that we know a fair bit about brain injury and support people, either those that have been affected with their brain injury directly or the ripple effect of their friends and family. We have 5 hubs in the east of the county. Again, that is a historical aspect of us being predominantly based in East Kent. So we have our hubs in Canterbury, Thanet, Ashford, Dover and Folkestone. But we do offer support county-wide, be that with drop-in services or one-to-one work or small groups. And as I'd mentioned, we are affiliated to Headway UK, so hence our name. We're all Headway groups. We all work together for the greater good of lobbying government with brain injury matters and concerns. We get a lot of the research and development that Headway UK do towards brain injury and the information that they provide.
I'm just listening. It's a call. Someone. How are you? Right?
Oh.
Do you? What, really? Have they?
Sorry. And we can all work together. We're all the Headway groups share their information, share resources and ideas. So hopefully we are, as a network, we're stronger. Why is Headway needed? So, for instance, last year there were 4,307 people admitted into Kent hospitals with a brain injury, and they're just the people that have been admitted into hospital. They're not the people who, I don't know, might have fallen off their horse and had a bang on the head and some mild concussion and thought, oh, I'll be fine, or people playing high contact sports, or someone as simple as they came to us last year and hadn't gone to hospital but said, I've got some awful difficulties ever since I closed the car boot onto my head and gashed my head. And it's like, yeah, I think you have a very mild brain injury from that. And the shocking statistic that came out of Headway last year was that every 90 seconds somebody in the UK is admitted to hospital with a brain injury. So without even going into the work that we do, just looking at those statistics gives a very stark answer as to why is Headway needed. No, let me just move on to my second slide. So this is just an infographic of the admissions in Kent last year. So of those 4,307, you can see how it separates out, with the majority being traumatic brain injuries, which we refer to as being your car accidents, your contact sports injuries, you're falling off of ladders, and then close behind that was the admissions for stroke, and then significantly lower figures with your brain tumour and your meningitis. But I mean, there's a whole lot of within this scope of what a brain injury is. You know, it could be anything from a point of impact or injury. So, but these are quite good statistics just to give you an overall of what's happening in Kent. Okay, so I'm not going to go into tremendous detail about the human brain. One, you would probably all be asleep within the next 5 minutes, and also there's plenty of information out there on the internet, and if you wanted to gem up a bit more on your brain anatomy, but just to give a very broad overview of the brain, and also of why what we do is so important. So you think your brain, it's weighs 3 pounds, so kind of bag of sugar sort of territory, which when you think that that's what you're carrying with your spinal column and everything every day, that you get an impact on it, you know, it's going to have a massive impact on your well-being. But also it's got the consistency of blancmange, which is always makes me laugh when I say that, because I don't think anyone in an audience that I've ever spoken to has probably eaten blancmange, but you can kind of think it's a very wobbly, moussey consistency, and it's made up of 60% fat and 40% combination of water, protein, carbs and salts, which sounds really sort of basic when you say, well, this is what it's made up of. But then when you think of what it does, and it's essentially our onboard computer. So it sends and receives chemical and electrical signals from the brain throughout the body. But it does so much more than just sending the signals. It controls every movement that we do, our thought processes, our subconscious processes, and it houses the you part of you. It's all happening up in your brain. Comprises of your 2 hemispheres, which I think most people probably know, your left and your right. Your left hemisphere controls your right side of the body and vice versa. And it's got 4 main lobes, with many other structures deep within the brain. But if talking kind of broadly speaking, that's what your brain is made up of. But it has this really interesting thing that we call plasticity. So it's not as simple as saying your left hemisphere controls your right side of your body. Actually, when you have a brain injury, the plasticity really comes into play. And if you've injured one part of your brain, what happens is the surrounding areas, and often another kind of the mirror part of it on the other hemisphere, will take over that role. So it's really interesting that your brain is able to just spring into action and almost become its own paramedic and look after an injured part of it and take on roles that are missing. or that have been damaged. It's hugely complicated, and hopefully it goes some way to saying why every brain injury is different, and why actually you could be working with a brain injury survivor and then meet somebody else and think, hang on a minute, the injury on paper is exactly the same, but the person presented to me is completely different. And it's by and large because the complexity of your brain, but also this thing called plasticity. So there really is no textbook brain injury, which is what makes our job so interesting and challenging in equal measure. So the impact of a brain injury, I've put this up. This is a really crude overview. I could speak for significantly longer on the impact of a brain injury on a person, but I wanted to kind of keep this as short and sweet for you all as possible. So the main areas are highlighted on here, and these are the things that Headway offer support with. So the cognitive issues faced by and large by most brain injury survivors, nearly all struggle with memory. So the long-term memory remains intact. It's the short-term memory. So most people have difficulties forming those memories and then recalling any memories that they have, and information processing. Again, being able to read the paper, watch a news article on television, or listen to one on the radio, or more importantly, reading a DWP letter that's come through, or a letter from the care team, or about, I don't know, pensions or anything. So people will come in and they can read the words. There's no problem with the reading skills. The processing of that information is dramatically impaired. And so they'd say they can read the word out to me, and then I'll say, what's the gist? What's that saying? And I don't know, I don't understand it. So we do a lot of work with supporting people to train themselves to getting those skills back. We can't bring back lost skills. I can't magically make someone's memory better, but what I can do is give them strategies to try and support with these impairments. Another key part is executive functioning, which for us is everyday planning and sequencing. So thinking, well, before I go to work, I've got to do this, I must send this email, and that's got to get to this person before they get to their desk, and all these things that we just take for granted and we just do, and the kind of it's the plate spinning aspect of our brains. And on a very basic example, when we have new people, we kind of say, do you want a cup of tea? Do you want to make yourself a cup of tea? And quite often we're kind of looking in there's been the hot water put in and the milk and no tea bag, or, just hot water. And it's that the sequencing of events has gone. And when you think, oh, that's just a cup of tea, it doesn't matter, and some people here go, well, I don't drink tea, I'll have coffee because it's a lot easier, and make a joke of it. But when you think about trying to do that every single day with your life, and if you've got a partner and children, or you're trying to hold your job down, that gets incredibly difficult and very, very stressful. Emotional aspects of a brain injury. A lot of people will experience anger and having triggers that they've never had before. A big noise, walking into a supermarket with the lighting, just people not being able to understand them, or getting frustrated with not being able to understand other people. and they're just the small triggers. And we do have some people that find it very difficult to control their anger on a very big scale as well. And they said, I never used to be like this before my brain injury. I was really placid, you know, a complete personality change. Another aspect would be emotional lability. So having an uncontrolled emotional response. So laughing hysterically at something that is really not funny, or getting angry over things. It's the pendulum of emotions, which again people weren't like before. Nearly all brain injury runs alongside some kind of mental health difficulties, primarily because everyone has to have overcome a feeling of loss of, well, the person I was isn't there anymore, and this goes with the carers that we support as well. So suddenly the person that they married 10 years ago isn't that person anymore, and their role is now not as a partner, but it's a carer. So a lot of the work we do is not just with the brain injury survivor, but with their friends and family as well. Behavioural. So disinhibition is quite a key one. If you need to be, you know, a dose of reality, come into a Headway group, because if someone's going to say that they don't like your top you're wearing, or your hair looks awful in the new haircut, you're going to be told. It just, you know, the saying inappropriate comments is very, very common with brain injury. And it's not through malice, it's not through anything, it's just a disinhibition. And that's largely from frontal lobe injuries. So this part of the brain, the frontal lobe, is the me part of you, of a person, and the personality, but also it's the inhibitor. You know, it's the don't say that clicks in, and we all have it, but with a brain injury that nearly always goes as well. The egocentricity, we find a lot of people, it's as part and parcel of their brain injury, of not being able to empathise and to see that there are other people in the room that might need support. It's you know, very much like, well, what about me? What about me? And we, as professionals, know how to deal with it. But if you put that into a family environment, you can see how that would make stresses and strains within a family, and why friendships often deteriorate and then dwindle away after brain injury. And perseveration, repeating over and over the same stories, the same phrase. Again, it's not someone trying to get your attention, or it's not a deliberate thing. It's just the brain injury. It's just what happens. And on a practical level, we often find that personality changes. Speech and language is often affected. We all know, you know, the effects of stroke, but this can also happen with traumatic brain injury as well, of aphasia and other speech and language issues that happen. When that happens, you can then have a snowball effect of, so people getting frustrated and angry that they can't be understood, or that they can't then get across what they want to, and then that impacts their mental health, and then that impacts their family life, and it just all goes on. And fatigue is another big one here. We often find that after brain injury, people have to nap often, and we always say first piece of advice is, you know, go for the naps. It's not a child thing. Brain injury, it's someone said an analogy to me last week, that when you plug your mobile in, and you know, you then get 100% after so many hours of it being charged, who after a brain injury, you're never going to get to 100% charged with your fatigue. It might get to around 50-60%. So you're starting off the day tired, and it gets worse as the day progresses. And mobility as well. People often get one side weakness or dizziness, have to struggle to move and mobilize themselves like they did before. Okay, so our services, so we have a broad range of services. We have our key ones are our community hubs that I'd mentioned in the 5 locations previously. These are the places where we try to support people with their strategies, their cognitive strategies to regain lost skills. It's also a large part is there to regain social skills, peer support, and just to be in a safe environment where they are with people who know what they're going through. The biggest thing I hear in any Headway hub is, oh, I can be myself here. People know who I am. People don't worry if I say something silly. Someone said to me, it's the only place I can go where I don't have to apologise for being me. So it's seen as a safe place for a brain injury survivor, in addition to us hopefully helping people with their lost skills. Our information and support lines, a lot of the work that we do is in the hospital, so a point of discharge of giving people information about brain injury, about Headway. They might not want Headway now, but they might need us in 2-3 months down the line, a year down the line, who knows. But if they've got our number, then they can contact us and get some information. We have our small groups, so if people don't want to come into a hub and might feel a bit overwhelmed with the amount of people coming in, we offer one-to-one and small groups for people. We have our young adult support group starting this Friday in Thanet, which will be once a month for 18 to 30-year-olds to join together and work through their brain injury together. And we've also got, starting in June, 8-week long living with brain injury courses, which will be free for people who have recently had their brain injury to work through the emotional changes, cognitive changes in a small group of similar people, to learn about the brain injury and to move forwards. The point of these courses is to try and prevent what happens countrywide with brain injury, that you'll be discharged from hospital with often, the advice of go and live your best life, and then I think the statistic is 3 years later, people phone a Headway group saying, I'm in crisis, my wife's left me, I've lost my job, I've got no friends, and so everything's kind of hit crisis point. The living with brain injury course is to try and get people to join those early on, so they can learn about brain injury and put some techniques and some strategies in place to stop bigger problems later on down the line. And carer support as well is a significant thing that we do to support those who need the support, and be that they can come into our hub, they can come into our quiet room and talk to a staff member. We have carer support groups, social groups for carers, and we're always at the end of the phone for our carers as well, just if they ever want to say, I just need to talk to somebody, or is this normal? We're here for all of those queries. And lastly, which I think I'd seen something flash up saying, will we get the slides? I can give these to Mark to hand out, and this particularly would be useful for people to read at a later point about David. He came here, and when he first started, he couldn't independently travel, so we travel trained him, and now he drives in on his own, having gone through learning to come on the train and the bus. And he's actually the gentleman that said, it's the only day of the week when I don't have to apologise for being me, which I think is quite significant. So it makes you feel that you're doing some good. So that's that. Thank you for listening to me, and hopefully I have done that justice and helped you all to have a bit of understanding about headway and brain injury without boring you all too much.
Thank you, Hayley, for that. That's really informative, really interesting. Thank you. Great presentation. So yeah, we've had a few questions come in through the chat. So yeah, one of the questions was about, could we share the slides? So hopefully you can send them over to me and I can send them out to attendees.
Yeah.
We've had Faye has asked about the information and support line number.
Yeah, I can send that to you to send out to everybody as well with the slides if that's helpful.
Okay. We've got a couple of questions about districts. So only cover East Kent, or do you cover Dartford?
No, we cover all of Kent. It's just unfortunately historically we were East Kent, so that's why we are still heavily based here. But we do cover the whole of the county, and excuse me, we do cover Dartford. I have a Headway South East London North West Kent group who also cover Dartford, but we work together, and so yeah, we can cover Dartford, and the same. I've just seen something flash up about the small one-to-one groups. Likewise, we're person-centered, particularly with the one-to-one and small groups. So we will go wherever people are. So yeah, we're cover anywhere in Kent.
Okay. Lots of people asking questions in the chat now. Obviously, people are feeling like it's not a microphone on, camera on sort of day. That's fair enough. Someone's asked about, how do you refer to your services?
So if it's through social services, then they just literally they can contact me or our info at email and refer directly to us. We are a provider for KCC, so the referral process from our side is quite straightforward. We've just got a basic inquiry form, which if that gets completed and sent back to us, then that's a referral in. If it's a self-referral, again, people can contact us directly, and I will arrange for them to come in, meet me or one of my colleagues, and then we can start working with them as soon as we want to.
Okay. Just to add to that as well, that Headway Kent are on ReferKent. So if people on the call are members of the ReferKent network or have an access to the platform, you can also refer through that way as well. Tracy's asked a question about, can people drive? Do they need to retake their test?
You should advise the DVLA after you've had a brain injury, and they will nearly always ask you to surrender your driving license, and then you have to do a retest with cognitive functioning being tested. That's what should happen. I'm not sure how many people do that, but that's what should happen.
Okay. Faye's asked also about the small one-to-one groups and what areas they run in.
Again, we can set that up with with the one-to-one, again, it would be literally with that one person. So if someone says I've got a person in Maidstone, then we can arrange that. If it's a small group, if we don't have a small group already running, then we can get one up and running fairly quickly, because we've got people all the way around the county that we work with.
Okay. Kathy Ann has got a query about Ashford and whether there's still access to groups and services over there.
Yeah, I've got a hub in Ashford that runs on a Tuesday and Thursday.
Okay, so hopefully that helps on that one. Gain has asked a question, is there a time limit between when the brain injury occurs and when people can then refer in, or people can start accessing services? Does it have to be recent?
No, it really doesn't. It's guided by each individual person. What tends to happen is people have their brain injury, get admitted to hospital, and then for understandable reasons, want to get home as soon as possible and just get on with their life. Then what we find happens is that things tend to go a little bit awry, and then they contact Headway for support. It would be, there is no time frame at all. We work with on what's best for people. What we find is that quite often after a brain injury, there is so much input from, say, physios, OTs, from neuro teams, that actually the last thing they want to do is then have another service. But when the physios and everyone discharge, then that's when Headway can step up and support the person and their family. So yeah, in short, there's no time frame, but it's what works best for an individual.
Okay. Got a few more questions about sort of referrals, and sort of I'll try and pull up all of those together.
Yeah.
Somebody's asked about can they still refer, and will social services still fund support?
Well, we still have a contract with with KCC for adult social care. So yes, I think it's not a quick referral route with adult social care at the moment, but certainly from our perspective, we make it as short and sweet as possible. I think it's a case of an individual being having their care needs assessment and financial assessment, but we can mobilise someone within weeks this end.
Okay. And a couple of people have sort of asked questions about, can they have a copy of the referral form if there is one, or if
Yeah.
social services is the best route and things as well.
Yep, so I can send you our inquiry form, which serves as a referral form. Yeah, I can also give you you've got my email address anyway, so you can send that out to people if there are any queries on it, and in case by case basis.
Okay, brilliant. Someone's asked a question, Lisa. Would it be able to refer a client who had an injury approximately 30 years ago?
Yeah. Yep. We do have that. I have people who've I think I've got one gentleman who had his brain injury in the early 80s. Some people come in and say I had a brain injury 20 odd years ago, and I've never had any support from it, and we can still do it. There's no time limit at all. You don't have to have been kind of freshly discharged to come to Headway. You can have been living with a brain injury for years and years, and we can still offer support.
Okay, thank you. One question about funding and services costing money from Sophie. Can you sort of clarify the sort of situation with that?
Yeah, so our hub hub costs, which is our kind of our hubs in the East Kent region, where we offer the support to upskill with strategies and lost skills through brain injury, there is a cost attached to that. Our carer support is free. Our young persons support group in Thanet is free, because that's grant funded, and our living with brain injury courses that's starting in June are also free because we've got a grant fund for that as well. So yes, but the main hub work there is a cost attached to that.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. So I think that is all of the questions we've had come through in the chat covered. Oh, somebody's just popped up. What age does a young person go up to?
30.
Faye's just got to go, and she's asked, can we have a copy of the inquiry form? So if we can put that with the slides, can't we? Hopefully, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So any more questions? Either anyone who wants to put the hand up, anyone who wants to sort of come on camera, or anyone else wants to drop anything in the chat, please do so. Got some more. Another thank you coming through. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
I'm just going to pop into the chat a very quick poll. So if people would just like to sort of give us a quick thumbs up or thumbs down, let us know what you think of today's session, that'd be really grateful.
Gosh. No pressure there then, is there?
But we'd just like to get some quick rapid feedback about sort of whether people felt that this afternoon was useful for them. And there's lots of thumbs up, and we haven't got any thumbs down yet, Hayley, you'll be pleased to know. So it would look like that most people have come on and have been quite happy with today's session. Oh, we got a hand up now. Philip, hello.
Hello. Turn my microphone the right way. I've just come back after being off for about a year. I've got to say that presentation was well paced, very clear. Even I understood it. So well done.
Thank you.
So people are asking, can we share the locations of the hubs with the information? And also if you can share your contact details as well with people, if you're okay with that.
Yeah, not a problem at all.
And some more thank yous coming through. So finally then, just to say, once again, thank you very much everyone for joining today's session, and for Hayley for delivering.
Thank you,
been really
everybody.
excellent. I have just popped into the session chat a little feedback form, so I'd be grateful if as many people as possible could complete that for us. Gathering feedback is really important for us to know how well we're delivering as a service, and also helps us with the continuation, if you like, of these spotlight sessions and the future funding of our team, because if we're seen to be appreciated and busy, then obviously that has a sway with those who provide our services. So once again, thank you very much everyone for joining today. We will drop out an email with Hayley's slides, and yeah, enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you very much.